everybody, I'm Danny Otto. Welcome into an all-new episode of That Recap Show. Now, before we get into the episode, just want to announce, major spoiler alert, we are going to be going over everything that happened in episode 4 of The Skeleton Crew. So if you haven't watched that episode yet, you may want to pause this video, head over to Disneyplus, check out that episode, and then come back and enjoy the breakdown. Now, with that out of the way, let's start the show.
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.
All right, joining with me to break down everything from episode 4 of The Skeleton Crew, it's Jon Jon Rico.
Hey.
Hey.
We're here.
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
I was waiting for you.
Yeah. Wait.
There we go. We
Okay.
lost our 2.
I was hoping that was the right button.
Well, you had 2 options. You could have done the hello there, or you could have
Hello
done our
there.
2. There we go.
Mhm.
Now we're off to a good start.
Yeah. Wish these were labeled.
little bit of duct tape and a marker.
Yeah.
Or masking tape and a marker. There you go. But anyway, I just have right off the bat, like I'm really enjoying, and I say this very often, and we after watching our recaps enough, you kind of tend to know the things that I look for in episodes and in movies and stuff like that. And it's moments of humor and comedy. Like I just enjoy. And this series and the other series that we're recapping at the same time, Creature Commandos, they do a very good job of having these little tiny moments of comedy and humor and stuff like that. Like, and I'm really enjoying both of them because they are very different. Like Creature Commandos is more of like Archer and mature themed humor stuff, and this is more like I don't know.
One is James Gunn humor, one is Disney humor.
Yeah. Well, like I was gonna say more like preteen, teenage humor, like still all my maturity level, like humor, like all the way across the board. I'm laughing at, but one of those moments is when they get to the planet which they think is theirs, and it just so happens to be not theirs, but looks very similar to theirs, which plenty to unpack in just that. That's why I'm glossing over that right now. But they see a statue missing a head, and Wim goes,
King No Head.
You think his name is King No Head?
It could be.
and it was just one of those little moments where I kind of just chuckled. I was just like, that would be something that I would say. I just think, and Fern turns to him and goes, "That's what you think his name was? His name was No Head."
Like, could have been.
Yeah.
Could have been.
Or Captain No Head, like really. Yeah. But I just thought that was just a moment of humor that I just really enjoyed, and it was just one of those things where I just kind of that was funny. Like I just chuckled a little bit. But there's so much to unpack in this episode, and so much that I really want to talk about and takeaways and predictions and stuff like that. So I don't want to waste any more time. Rico, what were some of your instant reactions before we get into unpacking the meat of the episode? I guess.
Yeah, this is a pretty solid kind of like this had the most kind of I've said this in the past, the like adventure of the week style format episode. Like this was like our one little pit stop that we made on this next part of our journey, but it actually expanded the story pretty well for what its purpose was. I was particularly excited for this episode because I saw that it was going to be directed by the Daniels, who they made one of my favorite movies of the last 10 to 15 years, Everything Everywhere All at Once, which yeah. So when I saw they were going to be doing an episode in the Star Wars universe, I was like, hell yeah! Like, what is like their like vision gonna do in this kind of world? And I think they did a really good job with this episode. Yeah, there's some really great moments of like the whole pirate nature of that with the Troiks and stuff like that, and the whole budding. It's also classic Star Wars. Like they go to a planet that's unknown to them, and there's this budding rivalry between the locals and some other organizations. So that's just like a classic Star Wars format right there. And yeah, I just kind of like the way that we saw these different character dynamics pushed forward, and certain character arcs that were meaningful for that character that really paid off in the end too.
Yeah, and look, that's a perfect layup to get us right into takeaways. So you want to get to some big takeaways?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. All right, I'm gonna give up big takeaways and kind of just along the same lines. I know there's one thing that you wanted to accent, and there's one that I kind of wanted to talk about, and so I'll kick it off with we saw it in this episode. We've kind of started to slowly see this, and it's nothing like groundbreaking or anything like that. And we've been comparing this to, the Goonies and to like the first season of Stranger Things when they were all kind of a little bit younger and stuff like that. But it's what I'm talking about is, we really saw it kind of start to happen in this episode is we're seeing the group of kids start to work as a team a little bit.
Right.
Like we're seeing the dynamics of, how they need to start working together, and they're starting to realize that, and they're starting to do that. Like, I mean, obviously, Neil and Wim they're best friends. They're going to work together no matter what type of thing.
Those two different groups of friends get
Right.
like a budding rivalry, quote unquote. That
Exactly.
kind of forced to go get along.
Yeah, and so like that is kind of perfect because that's what I was really talking about. Where like we have Wim and Fern, who kind of have always so far been at odds and kind of just kind of like the rivalry is pretty much the perfect term for that type of thing. They Wim realizes he needs to kind of boost morale, like say, Fern, you can do this, like you can help us out, like what are we doing next? You're the captain, something like that. Not asking like in like an annoying tone or like a a smart ass tone or something like that, but he's genuinely trying to help her out and in the sense of like, let's work together and figure this out.
But now we're stuck. You'll figure something out. You're amazing, Fern.
And so I really appreciate how we're seeing that kind of progression also. And it's the same thing, like in the examples that we've already given, like with the Goonies and with the Stranger Things seasons, where they do have to really work together and do what they are able to do best as a whole, like to add up as a whole versus individually trying to go in a bunch of different directions or doing everything separately type of thing. And I think it's a really cool underlying plot thing that we're seeing throughout this. A growth, I guess, of the group is
right.
Probably the easiest way to say it. But Rico, what were some of your takeaways from episode 4?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing to kind of watch unfold, because obviously these are all very sheltered kids because of the planet that they're growing up on. And Wim clearly always has some sort of like level of jealousy towards Fern, because he sees her as like someone who's really cool and kind of free. From the moment that he saw her on the speeder bike, kind of taking that shortcut, right? Like there's clearly like a level of envy there. So like, but it's also a part of him that wants to be the leader of the group too. So that's obviously when she just automatically steps into that role, like it creates that little budding rivalry between them. But then when they're thrown into like a real life situation on this planet, like and she's kind of like because she takes that role of captain, but now she doesn't really know how to handle this actual like real situation that they have to go in, because on this planet they treat the kids like the adults. So it's like, okay, so now you want to be one of the big boys, but now be one of the big boys. So and I like that Wim has that moment of empathy towards her when she finally kind of like breaks down. It's like, okay, I'm not really like cut out for this particular kind of like leadership. So yeah, it's cool. And he's always the boy who wants to adventure. So yeah, I do really like that moment between them was really nice. But man, for me, the true hero of this episode was Neil. And boy, oh boy, did he have like the true hero arc in this entire episode, which I thought was great. From the moment that he meets Hannah, the young girl who that takes her to her father and all the locals right there. I love the dynamic between them, because obviously he's like I imagine I liken him to Samuel Tarly from Game of Thrones, who's Jon Snow's kind of like big friend, who just he's part of the Night's Watch, but he's not the most confident man, but he's bound by this oath to protect the people. So when he kind of sees that like inspirational kind of a figure and Hannah, he develops a bit of a crush, and it's kind of funny the way they kind of develop like the crushy eyes of them, because it's just like his normal eyes too, but it still works perfectly. But But it's not the fact that like he sees a part like like what he could be if he was living in a different upbringing. I think right. Like, I think that's the big thing for all the kids is that they're seeing this life that could have been if they didn't have like a nice secure life on their planet, right?
Right.
Especially because of how similar the planets are just in general, which is the whole point, like the point of the location. But then also, Hannah kind of sees the same thing in Neil as well. They kind of see, the parts of them that they don't have in themselves, they see them in the other person, and they kind of grow to appreciate that in each other. And she even says it like, like the whole, mistaking kindness for weakness. No, they're like, no, I thought your weakness is what makes you kind or whatever. I think is what she said. So yeah, I really just enjoyed that whole dynamic of the episode. It was the true like heart of the story. I feel like, and it culminates perfectly at the end when SM33 goes crazy and Neil's like, no, not come after my friend. Basically, like he has the Ron Weasley moment basically at the in Harry Potter, like, no, now you're free to check the king. Yeah, and so all that. So yeah, dude, like he was always the kind that he's always been the heart of the show, I think, to me. But I think this was like really his big episode, and I'm really excited to see what kind of character Neil is going to be from this point on too, because this is like a big moment for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And for a split second, I actually thought maybe we were gonna get, the girl kind of grouping up with them,
coming back.
Yeah, and kind of like we have more of our crew now, like type of thing. Like I thought maybe like a couple of them maybe like snuck off with them type of thing. I kind of saw that.
And it gave me the biggest belly laugh, which was the very last shot of the episode where after like they turn off SM33 and Neil's like and he just passes out.
Yeah.
And then it cuts and then it cuts to the credits. So I was like, he was brave, and then all of a sudden now his bravery's done. Now you can pass out if you're like it was one of the funniest Neil moments I think so far of the show, and I'm like, yes, I love that so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. That was like the perfect ending, the perfect way to end the episodes in general. I was like, okay.
I was like, nice. Those, it's a weird comparison, but it's like that funny, like Penguin kind of like cut to humor at the big moment, and then like boom, cut to the credit kind of a thing. I was like, that was really well done.
I totally agree. You want to get to some predictions?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Why don't you kick off predictions? I know both of us have some interesting stuff to talk about in prediction section, so I'm excited.
Yeah, so we've been talking about like the kind of the character growth that all the kids went through on this planet. I can't remember what the name of the actual this planet at something.
They were all like, so now we're finding out
all
that
like
all of the hidden ones are at something.
At something, yeah. And so I think it was like at Ackland or something like that. It was one of those names. But we learned about this whole kind of like star charter of different systems, and of course, Attin's is not on there for a reason. And for me, the biggest thing now is I gotta figure out who the supervisor is on that now, because now I'm starting to think that is who SM33's old master, captain is, and I think he's probably the one who probably buried his ship somewhere underneath there, and the kids the kids discovered it. So like if it's all part of like this big pirate plot within, like with all these different systems that were going on, and then maybe he like took them out in some form, and then like I'm gonna wipe out any kind of knowledge of mine and just kind of keep everything to myself. So yeah, I'm very curious what's going to happen here, because now that they've overridden SM33's memory, they're going to have to like restrain him somehow and get some information out of him in some form. So yeah, I think that was really great, and I'm really glad that like Jon Jon Rico, which I think now we can confirm is actually Jude Law's character's name, because I was like at first I was like is that his actual name, but now they commit to it in the captions, so I'm like, okay, I think we're supposed to like take that Jon is his actual name. So I liked that whole dynamic too, because when he got captured by the Hatan clan, I was wondering like if when the kids were leading them in the battle, if there's gonna be like him also in the battle with that, and then like also that, but then he's just like, no, I just bought them all back with your money. I was like, okay, that's even funny. But yeah, I'm excited. I like that their bond is growing a little bit more too, especially again now because of Neil. I think Neil's gonna bring everybody closer together. And yeah, I'm just excited to see this kind of team bond grow even more, especially after the events they just went through.
I like so this is a really cool prediction section for us, because we're kind of predicting along the same lines, but we're like our theories are diverging, and I mean that in the best way possible. It's very exciting because I like how you're almost going to the sense of, you know, it was someone from one of the other hidden planets that kind of is masking the location of Attin.
Yeah.
I'm wondering.
The supervisor. Because
Yeah.
they keep talking about the supervisor. And even
Right.
then, this is the supervisor's tower. So it's like, what's going on in the other tower then?
I'm wondering if all of these hidden planets, and I don't remember how many we actually have. I don't know if it's like 6 or if it's 8 or something like that. We've seen it on the star chart.
There's a number of them, yeah.
Right. I'm wondering if they were all created identical. Like, just, I mean, the kids mistook this one for theirs, like as you're seeing it. So I'm wondering if, you know, originally this was all created by one particular, you know, governing body, whatever.
Yeah, some kind of council.
Right. And they were
all Republic related too.
Right.
So it's got to be
experimental communities or civilizations. And they were all blocked off, like from being able to leave or have other people, like other societies, come in and interfere. So I'm wondering if maybe, you know, originally, like I said, they were all like control. And then each one of them, something was changed, except maybe, or even maybe also with at Attin, like maybe at Attin, they left as like a harmonious, perfect, you know, peace society, you know, offering is like all the food that they need, the education that they need, job, like everything that you need in a peace society, as like the, you know, that is the good one. And then the rest of them, they changed other stuff. So like, that's why the planet that we're on now, some kind of disaster happened, type of thing, whether it was, you know, lack of food, lack of, you know, materials, because they weren't given to them originally for the society, and they had to, you know, adapt and change, and they fought for everything they needed, or, you know what I mean? Like, I'm wondering if they created all of them as like an experiment, and in each one, almost like the vaults in the Fallout series, you know, like, we find out that each vault was like an experiment. Like, so in this vault, we gave them not enough food for the X amount of people, like, and all of them are different. And so they were all kind of, you know, universal, but they were all like different kinds of aspects of the same experiment. So I'm wondering if that is kind of what the similar in this type of thing. Like, they were all created equally originally, and then something was changed in each one of them.
It's almost very much like an Andor type of plot in a sense, which I thought was very interesting, because I noticed like the kind of the color palette of when they were on this planet felt very much like I was watching an episode of Andor. There were a lot of like really cooler colors and kind of showing like the grim nature of where these people are living and stuff. Like especially I think the one scene is where Neil gives the kids the food. This is like very much, I feel like I'm watching like an episode of Andor, but with like a little bit of a lighter touch. And I kind of get that a little bit of the same vibe. Like, there's some kind of system here that was working together that was using these people to do some kind of purpose, and then one of them kind of figures something out, I think, or you know, I don't think it's Empire related, because it goes back to the Old Republic, but we're gonna find something out like with it, like what's been kind of lurking in the shadows, or kind of just been playing as something else this whole time.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Like, and I'm all for any theories, any theories anybody has out there. Like, none of them are wrong right now. But
maybe the Empire discovered this system and then wiped out all but one, and then just like did whatever. But like, I think
maybe that's why those coordinates were hidden.
I think, and then, but also I could see it being somewhat pirate related too, just to stay in the theme of it. But yeah, it's a fun. This is what I love about like pirates shows in general. Like, the mystery itself is just so much fun. I feel like I'm watching Uncharted and Star Wars and like that.
I am right there with you. I like having this mystery, you know, as kind of the subplot for the entire series, because it just kind of gets better with every episode, because we have this straightforward kind of adventure story, like we keep saying, but we also have this mystery that kind of just keeps changing,
plays into the bigger Star Wars mythos.
But it also keeps changing, because now it's like, oh shit, like this planet is very similar to their planet, and some big disaster happened, type of thing. So
Yeah,
like,
Stockholm syndrome style planet type deal.
yeah, it's very interesting. I can't wait for the next episode. I can't wait to learn, more breadcrumbs about this overarching mystery in general. Like, yeah, I'm here for the whole thing. Like, I can't wait.
Absolutely.
So, but as we always say, that's what we think. Let us know in the comments below. What did you think of episode 4? And what do you think all of these, hidden planets are, adding up to? Like, are we going to, visit more of them? Are they all hidden from each other? Or were they ruled by the same, governing race type of thing to begin with? Like, there are so many theories about this. I love this mystery. I love series with like this kind of mystery. And as always, don't forget, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to hear about all of our latest audio and video podcast releases. Bye, everybody!
Popping Off presents That Recap Show.